Hello everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns with another tabletop video review for everybody. Today we're looking at the Webley Nemesis bolt action CO2 pellet pistol. This air pistol is available in both our Canada and US online Replica Airgun stores over at replicaairguns.ca for Canada and replicaairguns.us for the US. I don't always talk about price because it can change at any time, but this gun's listed for about $160 Canadian, a little bit less US, at least at the time that I made this video. Maybe not when you're watching it. Now, this gun does come in a cardboard box, so let's take a quick look at it. This is the back side. Just shows you some features, up to 420 FPS, actually more like 430 with a .177 caliber. Talks about the fiber optic sights, the rifled steel barrel, the 1/2 inch threaded cap there, which we'll go over. Uses 12 gram CO2 cartridges, integrated Picatinny rail, integrated 3/8 inch dovetail rail. All right, we have these tandem magazines. We'll show you all that. We have fiber optic sights front and back. We have a bolt action here, ambidextrous grips, easily accessible manual bolt or cross bolt safety. You also have a couple of things on the bottom it shows you here, but I'm going to be showing you all that. This is the front of it, okay? This is the .177 caliber version, by the way. It does come in a .22 caliber version as well. In the box, you're going to find a manual. Pretty straightforward. Okay, shows you how to load it up. Manual safety, just basic instructions here. I'll be going over a lot of this for you guys as well while we check it out. Okay. Is the magazine. Now, it does kind of look a little bit like an oversized Glock in my opinion. I mean, it's pretty big, maybe a little thinner, but it's got that kind of Glock shape to it. You know, obviously different, but has that overall shape, I would say. All right, let's get into some of the specifications quickly, then we'll do a little walk around of this gun, talk a little bit about shooting, and then go over pros and cons. So it is a bolt action multi-shot CO2 pellet pistol that comes in both .177 caliber or .22 caliber, your choice, what size round you want to use. It uses a single 12 gram CO2 cartridge. The magazine capacity is 14 rounds for .177 caliber or 12 rounds for .22 caliber. And what you're going to find is 7 on each side for the .177 caliber and 6 on each side for the .22 caliber. I'll show you that when I do the walk around. The barrel is 6.25 inches in length. The overall length is actually 10.25 inches, so it is a little long, a little bit bigger than what you'd normally find in a standard pistol. This gun weighs in at about 2 pounds or 907 grams. And in .177 caliber, you're going to shoot around 430 FPS versus .22 caliber, which will get up to about 370 FPS. Of course, it depends what the grain of the pellet you're using is. It does have a cross bolt safety, which I'll show you in a bit. You're also going to find fiber optic front and back sights. The front sight is adjustable for windage. The rear sight is not adjustable at all. What's kind of nice is there's a top rail that's in the dovetail style, so you can add possible scope rings, you can put an optical sight, red dot sight on the top. And on the bottom, you're going to find the Weaver or Picatinny style rail for something like a tack light or laser. Now, I will be showing you this, but there is a built-in Allen key and a magazine storage compartment, which makes this gun kind of like just grab the gun and go. You don't need to bring anything or potentially forget parts that you're going to need to shoot the gun. All right, let's do a walk around and then we'll talk about some of the shooting performance. Let's just take a visual look at it first here, okay? So there's your bolts. There's a little plate in here for when you're doing single shot, right? You got this little tray that it comes with. You have to rack the bolts, right? I'm going to just shoot it in a downward position here. There's no pellets in it, but just in case, actually the cross bolt has got to be in the on position. Okay, so CO2, it's kind of nice, and the trigger is really nice. It's pretty much an all plastic gun, but it does have good weight to it. There's a lot of metal internal parts. You can see through to the metal barrel there. Okay, you got your Picatinny rail, you got your dovetail rail there on the top, your rear fiber optic sight, which is non-adjustable, but it does come off. You got Allen key screws there. This front one is adjustable. It's got Allen keys on either side, but you'll see here you can move it around. You can push it back and forth. So it's not super tight right now, so I can move it, but it is tight enough that it stays in place. I probably want to secure that more once I make sure it's adjusted properly for the windage. Again, there's your bolt. Okay, This little tray comes out. We'll just take it out for now. Okay, so you can put your rotary magazine in there, right? And there's your crossbolt safety. So that's safe, that's fire. Trigger's nice. I mean, it's plastic, but it's nice and thick. It doesn't have any flex. It's basically 2 halves put together here with a Picatinny rail added onto it. So you could take this Picatinny rail off if you wanted to lighten it up, potentially. You got some instructions over here. Okay, Nemesis. Here's your rear sight. Here's your bolt, nice metal bolt. So I said the gun does have a nice weight. 2 pounds is plenty heavy enough. Okay, now this barrel does come off. I don't know what you'd want to put on there. If you wanted to put a mock suppressor maybe, I don't know. Whatever, people like that kind of thing. I like keeping the guns a little more compact personally. Okay, so let's get in underneath here and show you where all the goodies are. So you have your Allen key here for tightening your CO2. That's where your CO2 goes. It goes in this little tube, and then you tighten it with the Allen key. We'll put that down. And then in here, you've got your magazine. Okay, it just sits in there. So it's like ready to go. You've grabbed the gun. You've got everything you need other than obviously CO2, but you could pop that in there and tighten it when you get to where you're going, just to make sure there's no leakage at all. Okay, now to load the magazine, you just pop it in until it clicks, and then it just rotates every time you turn it. Okay, now there's no pellets in here, I've checked, but it just keeps rotating them every time. Okay, just want to make sure it's not in fire mode. But okay, so let's take a look at this magazine. Now you just load it, and you notice how it kind of wants to swing back, but every time you put a pellet in, it stops it from swinging back. So it'll just basically, you pop a pellet in and then you rotate it again. Right now it just wants to go back to essentially the last one, right? But you'll see in here, hopefully you can see it. I want to get in there enough that you can see it. It's going to be tough. Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to. No, it's pretty tough. But there's a little springy type thing in there. You can maybe see it on this side. And what that does is it kind of reads when there's a pellet in it, and that's what sort of makes it so that it can't go back on itself. The problem with that is if the pellet's really narrow, has a narrow skirt, it doesn't quite sit in the right position. So it might kind of sit like this. So when you try to work the bolts and feed the magazine, I found that a narrow skirted pellet doesn't work very well in this gun. So you're going to want to use a slightly thicker pellet with a thicker skirt on it, so it doesn't taper as much in the middle. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a bit. But I found that the RWS pellets that I was using for the chrono test that were 6.9 grain, they didn't index very well. Whereas the Sig Sauer, there was, I think, a slightly heavier pellet, but both of them were lead pellets. But the Sig Sauer ones had a wider skirt and they indexed perfectly fine, okay? So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Here's the super hollow point RWS, and here is a Sig Sauer pellet, okay? If I can get my fingers around this thing. And let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. It might not be easy to see. Okay, so I can't get in too close, but the RWS, which is on the right side, you might be able to see it. It's narrower in the middle than the Sig pellet, and that makes a difference in this gun, okay? So just wanted to keep that in mind. If you're having issues, try a different pellet, one that has a wider skirt. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case for the .22 caliber version. That one might, not be as picky. I don't actually have it here, but it might not be as picky. I want to show this sort of what it looks like with the gun all kind of ready to go. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Looks pretty cool, right? You just flip that around when you shoot your 7 rounds, and then you've got another 7 ready to go. It's nice that you have follow-up shots. You can work that bolt pretty quick, right? That would feed it. You'd be feeding a shot every time. Okay, I'm gonna just cross bolt that. And that's pretty much it for the walk around. So let's talk about the shooting performance, because I have done my field test shooting video. Check that video out. I'll put a link in the description. But I'll tell you right now, it did pretty good. The claimed FPS for pellets is 430, and it got 430 FPS using a 6.9 grain lead pellet. So those weren't the lightweight hypervelocity pellets getting up there. They were just standard medium weight lead pellets, nothing too heavy or too light. Now I unloaded all 14 shots into my paper target 30 feet downrange using a rested position, and I was able to get about a 1.5 inch 14 shot group. Now this gun is for sure capable of getting under 1 inch. You know, I'm not the best shot in the world. There's human factor involved. When you're shooting 14 rounds, you're probably going to pull a few of them. And once you get used to the trigger and the gun, you're just going to be able to shoot it a little bit more accurately over time. All right, let's get into some of the pros and the cons. It's really the first multi-shot rotary mag CO2 pellet pistol I've come across. I've seen some rifles that offer rotary mags, but this is the first pellet version that I've seen, at least me personally. I did find it had good accuracy and power. Nothing crazy, but enough power definitely for getting pellets out there at a decent range, and enough accuracy for hitting what you're shooting at for sure. I like that you can add a red dot or optical sight to it using the top built-in dovetail rail. And you can also add a laser or tack light using the bottom built-in weaver or Picatinny rail. Now some of these bolt action CO2 pellet pistols, they look kind of dated. They don't really look like a modern pistol. I like that the Webley Nemesis looks a little bit more modern. Even has that kind of Glock style to it. Of course you're going to find a rifled steel barrel. You can see it right through the plastic frame there. And the fiber optic sights make it easy to sight in your target, with that front sight being adjustable for windage, if it's shooting a little bit to the left or the right. Now, I found the trigger to be pretty good. I haven't talked about the trigger yet too much, but it's nice and light and it doesn't have a lot of take up. It isn't adjustable, but I don't think it really needs to be in this case. It's kind of cool that the Allen key and the magazine storage compartment are built into this airgun. That means you just grab it and go, no worrying about do you have all the parts that you're going to need to shoot it when you get there. And I'm going to go out a little bit on a limb. I'm not really a big fan of using CO2 pistols for pest control, but being that the Webley Nemesis has good accuracy, has enough FPS to get the job done, I think if you're familiar enough with this gun and you've shot it enough and you know that you're accurate with it at certain ranges, then I think it would be good for small pest control, especially since you have those follow-up shots just in case the first round doesn't get the job fully done. All right, couple cons. It doesn't like all pellet selections, especially pellets with a narrow skirt. So don't go out and buy a ton of pellets unless you've tried them with the gun first. And it would be nice if the rear sight was adjustable for elevation, because who knows exactly what range you're going to be shooting at, and you might want to consistently shoot at a certain range and have that gun sighted in perfectly for that elevation. That said, you could throw on an optical or red dot sight, and then that problem won't exist for you anymore. Again, I want to mention the Webley Nemesis is available in both our Canada and US online Replica Airgun stores over at replicaairguns.ca and replicaairguns.us. Also come on down to replicaairguns.com where I have articles, posts, reviews. I'll have additional photos over there with a written review, link in the description. And of course we sell all kinds of other airgun related products over at replicaairguns.ca and replicaairguns.us. Stuff like air guns, BB guns, airsoft guns, pellet guns, blank guns, and other accessories. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, take care.